So thank you John, thank you for inviting us to come and talk about the Cyber Threat Alliance today, and to tell you a little bit about what CTA is and what we do. Some of you on this call are obviously very familiar with CTA, and some of you probably are not. So we'll try to go in several different directions and then let you ask questions. So go ahead to the next slide, Jeanette. So the Cyber Threat Alliance we're a nonprofit based here in the United States. We are a membership organization, which we'll get into in just a minute, but we are made up of cybersecurity providers. We are an information sharing organization at our core. But rather than focusing on a critical infrastructure vertical to do the sharing, we focus on the cybersecurity industry, those entities that are providing cybersecurity services or products to others. So to that end, we see CTA as having three core missions. One is that we want to better protect end users. So we want to enable our members to better protect their customers and clients through sharing threat intelligence. We also want to support the disruption of malicious actors so that we can reduce the overall effectiveness of what the bad guys are doing. And third, we want to raise the overall level of cybersecurity across our digital ecosystem. So that's really what CTA does. That's our mission. And so now we're going to talk about how we actually do it. So we have really three different ways that we think about enabling our members to achieve these goals. One is we have an automated sharing platform that we manage, where our members share technical threat intelligence. We have human-to-human sharing activities that we do, and we also have operational collaboration that we enable. And so what I want to do is kind of go through each of these, different areas in turn. But we'll come back to them as we go through the presentation. So Jeanette, we can go on to the next slide. Thank you. So I would say that CTA members can derive value from being part of CTA in multiple different ways, whether it's from that automated sharing, that human-to-human sharing, but also through our industry influence, through our policy engagement, and other different ways that we operate. One of the things that we emphasize is that CTA members all have unique points of view over the threat landscape. And we currently have 33 members, which we'll show you in just a second, but I would say that we have at least 33 different ways that members derive value from CTA. And so it's this mix of collaboration, marketing, networking, sharing, and everybody does it a little bit differently in terms of how they actually get value out of being part of CTA. All of our members have to share a certain minimum volume of intelligence, but they have a lot of flexibility in tailoring their contributions to fit their business model. And we also have a diverse fee structure that we use to enable multiple different kinds of companies to be able to afford to join CTA. So the next slide talks about who our membership is. So you can see the different companies that we have there. Our 4 charter members are our largest members that contribute sort of the most in terms of both money and people's time, but we have a diverse membership from around the world. In fact, actually, of the 33 companies that you see here, they're headquartered in 10 different countries around the world and have global operations. So we go on to the next slide, Jeanette. So in the automated sharing, how this works is that when members agree to join CTA, they agree to share a certain amount of technical threat intelligence every week. And we so the way and what that intelligence consists of is both indicators of compromise. So your standard malware hashes, binaries, IP addresses, so forth. You get about 11 different types, and it includes context. So things like what phase of a kill chain is that indicator associated with? What country or region of the world did you see that indicator associated with? So what you see here is that right now we have an algorithm that assigns point values to that incoming threat intelligence. And the reason that we do that is how we enforce our sharing requirement. So we basically say that members are required to hit a certain amount of points on average over every day over the course of a week. We also, the reason we use an algorithm is that there are different weights that are applied to different kinds of indicators. So for example, if an indicator is new to CTA, it scores more points than an indicator that has already been submitted. But even if it's already been submitted by another member, that still scores some points. Context actually scores a lot more points than just the indicator itself. So members can mix and match the volume of indicators and the relative amount of context that they provide. So I've got some members that provide a fairly small number of indicators with a huge amount of context for each one. We've got members that provide a very large number of indicators with relatively minimal context. In fact, mostly just the required context. And I've got, sort of everything in between. It's a nice bell curve, actually. So, one of the things that's noted here on the slide is that you have to align it to that kill chain phase. Most of our members use Lockheed Martin. And you can see, roughly how that breaks down there in the graph at the bottom of the slide. The other required piece of context is a date timestamp. So you got to give us, first seen, last seen, some sort of date timestamp associated with the automated submission. And we're running at about 170,000 indicators per day right now. That'll probably go up as more of our we've got several large members that are in the onboarding pipeline. So I expect that will increase over the next couple of months. So we can go on to the human sharing. So on the other side of the coin, CTA also encourages human-to-human sharing. So we work very hard to create a trust community among the researchers and analysts from our members. And we do this through enabling regular conversations, whether you're talking about through a WebEx Teams channel, through virtual online meetings that we have every other week, email distribution channels if needed. So we really try to enable those regular conversations. We also have what we call our early sharing program, where many of our members will share pre-publication versions of blog posts, research papers, findings, other things like that under embargo. And the other members get a heads up on what's about to come out. This has been an extremely popular program. We've averaged about 4 or 5 of those per week from our members. And almost all of our members participate in that in some way. The submitting organization gets to choose the embargo. Most of them use the traffic light protocol. So they'll say this is, shared TLP red until Friday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time or whatever. And so far we've had very, very good results with that. Like I said, it's been a very popular program among our members. And then we also help facilitate specific questions about, IOCs, threats, malicious actors, and collaborate on those topics. So, Jeanette, I think the next slide's got some stuff on the early sharing program. Yeah, so we're over 400 of those over the last couple of years. And we manage this through our algorithm and intelligence committee. I would say that usually we get those early shares usually 24 to 48 hours in advance, sometimes less, sometimes more, depending on the situation. But like I said, it's a really popular program. So the next slide, please. So then the operational collaboration. So, we do a lot of work to try to enable our members to work together, not just to share intelligence, but to actually work together. So how can we coordinate research and actions against specific threat actors? So for example, we are actually in the process of updating a report that we put out last year on cyber threats to the Tokyo Olympics. And we're updating that for the changed environment, particularly post-COVID, and the emergence of more of the ransomware threats there. We also work on incident response, so being able to serve as a coordination hub during crises, sharing information, for example, like when the SolarWinds incident emerged, or when the Microsoft Exchange server vulnerabilities came out, ensuring that industry could respond in a more timely fashion. And then we really work hard to be engaged across the board with all sorts of different organizations that either nonprofits like the World Economic Forum that's listed here on the slide, or governments from around the world, obviously primarily the US, but also the UK, the Netherlands, Canada, other places like that we engage with. So go on to the next slide. We specifically, I wanted to highlight some special interest groups, some threat disruption groups that we have worked with over the past year. We had an election cybersecurity working group that really focused on the security of the US elections, and I expect that we will stand that group back up as we head particularly into the 2022 election cycle. So that group is taking a well-deserved break, but we'll come back. And like I just mentioned, the Olympic working group will produce the threat report here probably at the end of April. These special interest groups are really voluntary, so not all of our members participate in these. Like I think we had about 11 or 12 of our members that were active in the election group, and about the same number, although not exactly overlapping, that are in the Olympic security working group. So we really try to foster these on the basis of what our members are interested in. And so if a member came to us and said, we're really interested in forming a special interest working group around this particular threat or that this upcoming event, we would definitely look at putting that together. So if we go on to the next kind, we also have those analytic outputs that we have generated. We've done some joint analyses like on network devices. We've done incident reviews related, for example, to VPN filter. So we very much have tried to produce reports that the industry itself is not producing. What is it that, where are there gaps? Where are there holes that individual companies aren't going to necessarily have an interest in producing, but CTA can fill in that hole and produce something that is useful to the industry. So next slide, please. So one other area that we did in threat response was that, obviously related to COVID-19, we worked very closely with the COVID-19 Cyber Threat Coalition to share IOCs related to the COVID-19 pandemic and make sure that we were using our position as an industry hub to help improve the response to COVID-19, particularly all the phishing scams and other things that came along. So we'll go to the last slide here. So, lastly, I would just highlight that, CTA really focuses on that information sharing activities that I talked about, but we also try to engage across industry. So we try to provide a collective voice for the cybersecurity industry, and we do that through, we have a blog, guest blog program. We have a webinar program. I participate in a lot of the industry groups. For example, we're working very hard with the ransomware task force that the Institute for Science and Technology out of California is sponsoring. We work a lot with the World Economic Forum and the Aspen Institute to try to promote good cybersecurity policy and to push back against stupid cybersecurity policy, of which there is plenty. So we try to engage with governments and support responsible activity and government engagement in cyberspace. So that's really what CTA is and does. We are open to any member that can meet our sharing requirements and can meet the requirements of being part of CTA. So you can always check us out at our website at thecyberthreatalliance.org or send us an email because we'd love to talk with you. But that's the overview, John, of what CTA is and what we do. And I'm happy to take any questions that folks have.